Your company has an AI strategy document. It probably has a roadmap, maybe a center of excellence, possibly a governance framework, definitely a slide deck. And your team is still doing the same work the same way it did it 18 months ago, right? I talk to top corporate innovation leaders every week, and the gap I keep seeing is not ambition, it is implementation. Everyone is evaluating tools, almost nobody has integrated them into the actual work, which is very difficult. So today, I'm going to show you 5 AI tools that are inside the working stack of corporate innovation and venturing teams right now. Not what the vendors are pitching, what practitioners are actually using to source deals, analyze startups, build business cases, and run faster programs. Before I get into the list, let me tell you how I selected these tools. I did not pick them based on press coverage, investor backing, or which vendor bought good that at last Open Innovation Conference. I picked them based on one criteria. Do innovation teams use them in production or real programs to produce outputs that go to leadership or to startups? There is a difference between a tool you demo in an offsite workshop and a tool you open every morning because it makes your job, materially faster. This list is the second kind. I will also tell you what each tool does well and where its limits are, because every one of them has limits, and understanding those limits is the difference between integrating AI well and building another pilot that looks impressive and does nothing. And we don't want that, for sure. One more thing. Before we start, these are not affiliate recommendations. I have no commercial relationship with any of these companies. This is practitioner to practitioner. Take what is useful, ignore the rest. I'm not telling you these are all the tools, but these are the tools that I see with my clients using it every day. I'm not affiliated with this one, but if this one, maybe one of this want to call me, just send me an email. What's the problem? Tool number 1, Perplexity. Use case, startup landscape scanning, and deal sourcing context. Every venture client program starts with the same questions. Who is solving this problem right now? 6 months ago, you would spend 2 hours pulling together a landscape, Google, Crunchbase, LinkedIn, startup database, WhatsApp connections, analyst report, you name it. Perplexity does a version of that in 3 minutes. What I use it for specifically, it's before a sourcing sprint, I drop in the problem statement and ask for the top 5 to 10 startups working in this space, what stage they are at, and what recent developments have come out on that space in the last 6 months or 12 months. It synthesizes across sources and gives me site results I can verify. So with that, I have obviously a search faster, easier, and with a specific scope that I need. The limit, it is a research assistant, not a startup database. It misses companies that are not well indexed on the web, early stage, non-English speaking market startups, or founders who do not have a public presence. Use it to orient the landscape, then go deeper with Crunchbase or direct networking for the sourcing list. Tool number 2, Claude or GPT with structured prompting. What is the use case here? Business case drafting, memo writing, POC criteria design. The highest leverage use of large language models in an innovation team is not ideation, it is documentation. Business cases, problem statement, POC or proof of concept evaluation frameworks, board update memos, all of this takes time that most innovation leaders do not have. And this is when Claude, in my case, I use Claude preferably, but obviously ChatGPT is great too, you don't get me wrong. But these tools, give you an advantage in terms of synthesize all that information. The teams that are getting real value from these models have developed their own prompt templates. This is very important. They are not typing free-form questions. They have a standard prompt for business case for a startup pilot, for example, that includes the problem, the proposed startup, the success criteria, the risk section, and the ask, The model fills in structure. The practitioner fills in the substance. The output of this, the time goes from 40 hours to 4 hours to 45 minutes. It depends. What is the limit? These models do not know your company risk tolerance, your procurement constraint, or your political landscape. If you use the output without editing it for internal context, it will read like a generic exercise, and that's not the idea. You still have to own the judgment. The model gives you the frame and you make it credible. That is very important. Please do not copy paste this. It's just to help you to have a better framework, a better understanding of the process you are doing. Tool number 3, NotebookLM. What are the use cases for this? Synthesizing research across a startup's public materials before a meeting. This one, it's underused, I think. NotebookLM lets you upload documents, pitch decks, annual reports, case studies, research papers, and then have a conversation with all of them simultaneously in sites, and it cites its sources, which is very important. The specific innovation use case here is before a startup evaluation meeting, upload the company's pitch deck, any news coverage you have found, the relevant industry report, and your internal problem brief. Then ask the model to identify where the startup's claim capabilities match your problem and where there are gaps. You walk into the meeting with a structured question set based on evidence, not intuition. And NotebookLM give you the possibility to keep adding those materials. So after 1 week of the meeting, you find more materials you want to upload it and ask a relevant question that you didn't ask before. You can do it as well. And that is the beauty of NotebookLM. And all the information is because don't go out there to the web to get more information. It constrains to the information you already upload about that startup. The limit, it is only as good as the documents you give it. Garbage in, garbage out. And for startup that have limited public materials, which is most early stage companies, you will be working with thin source material. Use it most aggressively for mature startups or when evaluating vendors in adjacent industries. Tool number 4, Granola or Notion or a meeting transcription tool. What is the use case here? Sourcing interviews, stakeholder alignment sessions, startup demos. This sounds basic, but it's not basic at all. Innovation teams run dozens of conversations with startups, with business unit leads, with external advisors, VCs, and the documentation of those conversations is usually either non-existent or a 2-line summary that someone typed while multitasking. So here in your notes, either you use, again, Granola or another tool, you're going to have it right there. You're going to be able to use them after your meetings to analyze information or to remember something that you forgot. When you have a full transcript of a startup demo, you can go back and pull the exact commitment the founder made about timeline, about the process you're taking. When you have the transcript of a business unit alignment call, you can identify the specific requirement that your program proposal means. The transcription becomes searchable, institutional memory, and that is very relevant, especially when you share the information with your team. The teams using this well have added one step to the process. After every call, they drop the transcript into Claude or ChatGPT, And as for the 3 bullet point summary, the open questions that need answers and any red flags in what was said. The output goes into their CRM or deal tracking system. The whole loop takes 8 to 10 minutes. And that's it. You have a lot of good information that maybe you're going to need for your next meeting with that startup. What is the limit? Inform the other party that the call is being transcribed. In some jurisdiction, this is legally required. In all contexts, it is the right thing to do because I think that is important. It's transcript. Tool number 5, a structured AI workflow in Notion or similar. I love Notion, by the way. Running the end-to-end innovation program with AI embedded at each stage, it is very relevant. The single biggest leverage point I see in advanced team is not one tool. It is the integration of AI into structured workflow. Notion AI, Coda AI, or a custom setup in a table with an AI layer on top. What these tools allow is embedding the AI assistants where the work actually happens, not requiring the teams to switch context to use it. So remember this, the system with AI you build, it is a key element to improve and make your analysis, faster and deeper. The specific workflow I have seen work a Notion database where each startup in the pipeline has its own page. When a new start is added, the template automatically prompts for 5 things like problem fit, stage, ask, risk, next step, etc. Notion AI can help draft each of those fields based on what the team input has. The deal review meeting is now structured before anyone walks in the room. What is the limit? This takes setup time. You need someone on the team who will build the template and enforce the process. In teams without that operational discipline, the system collapses within, few months. The AI does not create discipline. It amplifies the discipline you already have in your team. I want to tell you what this looked like in practice, not in theory, because that is very important. Last year, I was working with a corporate venturing team that was running a venture client process in the logistics space. They had a real problem, last mile visibility for a specific type of freight, and they need to move from problem definition to a short list of startups in 3 weeks and a month. 3 weeks is aggressive. In most corporate programs, that timeline would not survive the first internal alignment meeting. 3 weeks is not too much time. What made it work was that the team had already built the workflow I described in tool number 5. And that was very important. Without that process, 3 weeks, it wouldn't be impossible. Every step had a template. Perplexity gave us the initial landscape in 40 minutes. We uploaded that output plus the problem brief into NotebookLM and pulled the gaps in 5 minutes. We used a structured Claude prompt to draft evaluation criteria for the proof of concept POC, which went to the business unit lead for a 20-minute review instead of a 2-week drafting process. We transcript every startup call and run the summary and flags prompt, after each one. At the end of 2 weeks, we had a short list of 4 startups and a structured recommendation memo ready for the investment commitment. That memo would normally have taken another month to produce. No single tool did that. The workflow did it. The discipline was the system. So again, these are the tools, it's not the system. And please, it is very relevant that you understand this. The tools are going to help you to be more productive. But if you don't have a system, it's going to be a mess. So remember that. That is the stack. 5 tools, 1 workflow, 1 story from the field. If you're building an innovation or venturing team and you want to go deeper on how to structure this, the prompts, the templates, the workflow design, I break that down in the Venture Edge newsletter. The link is in the description below. One question for the comments. Which of these 5 tools is your team already using, and which one are you most skeptical about? I read every response, and I will build a follow-up video from the most common answers. If this video was useful, please subscribe right here. Next week, I'm going to make a case for why most corporate accelerator programs should just be shut down. That one will generate some opinions. Bye. Ciao. Adios.